What is up, people? Van from the VaniverseGaming here, bringing you another video on Solasta CoTM the Magister. In today's video, we're going to show you how you can base an entire class around one spell, and that spell is Eldritch Blast. Yes, we are talking about the Warlock class in Solasta. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover the Warlock class. I'm going to level 1 up all the way to level 12. We're going to see what Warlocks get, give you a little bit of advice or different build ideas, and we're going to start with which ancestry or race to choose. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, the Warlock is a charisma caster similar to a sorcerer or even a bard. And so you definitely want to pick a class that has charisma. So I highly recommend the half-elf or even potentially the halfling here. The island halfling has +1. And even the Dragonborn has 2 strength and 1 charisma as well. You can do some of the other races, but I think for this particular class, having a plus in charisma is great. For the sake of this video, I'm actually going to do a Dragonborn because I just like a Dragonborn and the whole Warlock kind of idea together. But if you really want to do more min-maxing, probably the half-elf is going to probably get you a little bit more bang for your buck. So once we pick to kind of cover the Dragonborn at the same time, the Dragonborn really is, they get this Draconic Ancestry. So they get to pick a color, you know, black, blue, gold, green, or silver. And they get to pick a different damage type. And then they gain resistance with that damage type. And they also gain a breath weapon with that damage type, which would be kind of nice with a Warlock to have an extra ability like a breath weapon because you don't get a lot of spells, which we're going to cover here in a minute. So we're going to move forward. We're going to pick our Warlock and we're going to go next. So similar to the Sorcerer and to the Cleric, Warlocks actually get their subclass, their patron at first level. And so let's see what we got to offer here. So first one up is the Fiend. This comes out of the SRD. And this gives you a list of additional spells that you can learn. And they're very fire-based: Burning Hand, Bane, Scorching Ray, Fireball, etc. So when you're picking which spells you're going to choose, you have a little bit more of a spell list available to you. And then also at first level, when you reduce a hostile creature to 0 hit points, you gain temporary hit points equal to your charisma modifier plus your Warlock level. So if you do end up getting a 20 in charisma, this can actually give you a lot of temporary hit points when you kill everything with your Eldritch Blast. So kind of a nice patron here. So let's kind of see what you get with this patron as you get higher. So at level 6, you can use an action to bring forth a Fiendish Stroke of Luck. For the next minute, you roll an additional 1d10 on all your ability checks and saving throws. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again for a long rest. So ability checks and saving throws get an extra 1d10. This is really nice if you're trying to succeed on something that's really important. But at the same time, there might be some other level 6 abilities that are better than this. And then finally, at level 10, you get Fiendish Resilience. So starting at 10th level, you can choose one damage type. And when you finish a short or long rest, you gain resistance to that damage type until you choose a different one with this feature. Damage from magic weapons or silver ignored. So this is really kind of nice because if you go for the Draconic Sorcerer, then you could actually have a resistance to maybe fire and then pick this up to be resistance to lightning. So a lot of the fire and lightning spells that would be cast on you, you would be resistant to. So not terrible. So now let's talk about the Hive. So the Hive, you select from this list, you get Detect Poison, Disease, Inflict Wounds, Acid Arrow. So much more around insects, acid, poison damage, that kind of thing. And then at level 1, each turn, the first creature you damage with a spell will have disadvantage on their next saving throw. This condition expires on its own after 1 minute. So this is really nice because having disadvantage on their next saving throw, you only have so many spells to choose from. So giving an advantage on the next spell that you cast and them having disadvantage on their saving throw could actually pay dividends in the long run. At level 6, you can cast Counterspell once per short rest. This does not use up one of your spellcasting slots, and you add your proficiency bonus when countering 4th level and higher spells. So a free Counterspell is really nice to get, especially at level 6. That's when they're going to start throwing some pretty hefty spells at you, so having a Counterspell for free is kind of nice. And then at level 10, you get, when you take damage from a spell or magic effect, you can use your reaction to immediately gain a number of temporary hit points equal to 1d8 plus your charisma modifier, and they last until the start of your next turn. So this is a reaction, and you can do it as many times as you want. So pretty much on every turn, you can do a reaction and gain 1d8 plus probably 5 charisma modifier in temporary hit points, which is really going to help you out as well. So let's look at the Timekeeper. Timekeeper, your spells are much, as you can see, blur, common motions, haste, slow, greater invisibility. Very much so based on controlling time and then what people can see, not see, raise dead, etc. So a lot of pretty good expanded spells. And then you get this: when you damage an opponent with a spell, they become afflicted with the Curse of Time. Enemies under the Curse of Time take half your proficiency bonus rounded up force damage at the start of their turn for the next minute. So not great. You go from 2 to 4 proficiency. So if it's half your damage, you're basically going to be giving 1 damage at early on and then 2 damage for the rest of the game. So 2 damage at the start of their turn is not a ton of damage, but for a level 1 spell, I mean, it's not terrible. I'm sorry, not for a level 1 spell, but just as a general, it's additional damage, which doesn't hurt. So let's look at 6th level. When you're about to take damage, you can use your reaction to project your body forward, negating any damage and effects you are considered banished until the start of your next turn. After you use this, you can't use it again to complete a long rest. So this is kind of cool. I mean, if you're about ready to like take a huge fireball or lightning bolt or blight or inflict wounds or harm or any of those crazy things, you can actually just make yourself pretty much in the ethereal plane and you're banished. So you can only do it once per long rest, but this is a pretty nice, oh shit, I definitely have to get out of here. And then at level 10, on your turn, you can use your bonus action to briefly accelerate an ally. They gain the effects of haste until the start of your next turn. However, they do not suffer any lethargy. And you can do this a number of times equals to your proficiency bonus. So a free haste 2 to 4 times is pretty amazing before each long rest, especially if you have a pretty, a fighter, a melee, whatnot, that's kind of up front there that you can get some extra attacks out of. And then finally, let's look at the tree patron. This is through the Lost Valley DLC. So this is very much so nature-based, spike growth, fog cloud, conjure animal, etc. And then starting at 1st level, your branches sprout from your skin. Whenever an enemy hits you with a melee attack, they take 1d4 piercing damage. So not a big deal. Level 6, both your blood and your skin start to change color, so you can't be poisoned and you gain resistance. And then at level 10, this is pretty cool. Starting at 10th level, once per short rest, you can erupt and cause 1d4 per level of piercing. Push away and restrain all creatures surrounding you on a failed dexterity saving throw. So this is 10d4 piercing damage. You push everyone away if they fail their save, and they're all restrained. This is a really nice ability to be able to use on a short rest. So I really like this ability. Now, if I was going to rank these just based on spell choices, based on the abilities you get, I still probably would say that the Fiend is probably one of the best ones to choose, just given what you get here. I would, this is pretty cool, getting counterspell and this free temporary hit points. So the Hive's pretty cool. I just don't like a lot of their spell choices. Timekeeper, the haste is pretty amazing. Some of the spell choices are okay, but honestly, just this time shift, only being able to use it once per long rest, I think maybe you get more bang from your buck from other ones. But this level 10 haste is amazing. It's just you don't get it till level 10. And then the tree, I mean, this is pretty cool. That AoE piercing damage, again, you don't get it till level 10. It is pretty amazing, and you can do it a good amount of times. So I don't know. They're all great subclasses, but I think the Fiend is the most consistent one, maybe followed by the Hive, then the Tree, then Timekeeper. Yeah, since you can only go to level 12, I mean, some of these are not as great because you can't really do anything with them until a higher level. So let's just stick with the Fiend for this build. All right, so now we get to pick our background. So obviously the Occultist is really what is put into this game for the Warlock class, and so that's if you want to be thematic. But then if you want to be more min-maxer, a Warlock can't wear medium armor, so picking up the Sellsword to gain the ability to be proficient with medium armor is going to be pretty nice. If you want to go more of a melee build, maybe picking up Lawkeeper so you can get proficient with martial weapons. Both good options to choose from. The Academic, if you want to become proficient with your Manacao and Rosary and do more of your crafting of your weapons and armor. But those would be the ones that I would highly recommend. Probably Sellsword, just given the medium armor proficiency. So we're gonna pick some stuff here. We're gonna we'll just standard array, optimize. So because we did the Draconic, we get a +2 in our strength, and then we get a +1 in charisma. So if you're going to go Draconic, you're going to have to probably roll some pretty good rolls because you do need a good Charisma, Dex, and Con. Dex for your armor, kind of Charisma for everything else, and then Constitution because you need hit points, right? So let's just roll with this. All right, so you get 2 class skills. You are a Charisma-based character, so Deception, Intimidation are fine. And then if you are playing in the current campaign, like the base main campaign, you want to learn Turanian and Old Temerian. If you're playing in a DLC, you want to learn Giant Language and anything else, but that will definitely help you a lot in the game. All right, so now let's talk about what makes a Eldritch Blast Warlock so good, and that is just basically the Eldritch Blast ability. So unleash a beam of crackling energy with a ranged spell attack against a target. On hit, it takes 1d10 force damage. Now this is good, but with a Warlock, you get these invocations that can buff up your Eldritch Blast to make it even stronger. And the other thing is Eldritch Blast functions a lot like Scorching Ray. So as you hit 5th level, most cantrips roll 2d10 instead of 1d10, right? But with this one, you still roll 1d10, you just actually control 2 blasts. So similar to Scorching Ray, you can put them on different creatures, so it makes it to be a much better cantrip than some of the other ones. You can actually put them both on one, or you can split the damage, which makes it a must-have. And then for your other ones, so I did Draconic Sorcerer, so I can't see anything, so maybe Sparkle. Dazzle is a good spell to help you kind of get away. But then we only get 2 spell choices. So this is where the Warlock is very different. You get 2 spell choices. To me, Malediction is a must-have. This is very much like Hex from 5th edition, where basically you use a bonus action to gain an additional 1d6 magic damage of the same type until the spell ends. This is a concentration spell, so just understand if you take damage, you'll lose it. So picking up some feats like Flawless Concentration is going to be very important for you. The other spell I would absolutely pick up is Hellish Rebuke. This is just, if you are damaged, you can use your reaction to inflict fire damage back. That's pretty much what this does. Now, you only get 2 spell slots, so just keep that in mind. But if you take any damage, you can just automatically do damage back. So this is a really nice ability that might kill somebody as they're trying to hurt you. So I always like to pick this up on my Warlock. So now we're just going to, finish. And now we're going to level this guy up here. Where is he? Personal. So let's see. At level 2 is when you get your first invocations. So we're going to kind of show you the list of invocations. So Agonizing Blast. This is probably a must-have. What it does is it adds your Charisma modifier to the damage you deal with your Eldritch Blast. So now you're dealing 1d10 plus up to 5, and that's on a cantrip. So this is like a must-have because that's pretty much your bread and butter as a Warlock. You can pick up Armor of Shadows, which gives you a free mage armor, but if you pick the background that gives you medium armor, you don't need this. Ascendant Step, this is not until you get 9th level. So as you level up, you can pick this, but this is Levitate. Beguiling Influence, you gain proficiency in Deception and Persuasion, and gain expertise instead if you're already proficient. You get Devil's Sight, which allows you to do Blind Sight and perceive enemies even through invisibility and magical darkness. So this kind of pairs nicely if you want to do like a build where you cast the darkness spell and then you can see them and they can't see you. So pretty cool ability. Eldritch Sight, detect magic. Eldritch Spear, you basically ignore cover on any targets when you cast this. So this is very similar to a feat that you get where you can remove cover. Eyes of the Runekeeper, you understand all languages. Fiendish Vigor, you can cast False Life on yourself. Repelling Blast, you can knock someone back up to 2 cells with your Eldritch Blast. And Theft of 5 Fates, you can cast Bane. So you can see Voice of the Chainmaster, this is where you have to have Pact of the Chain, which you can bind a creature to you. This is pretty cool. Thirsting Blade, you can attack twice instead of once, so this is more for your Pact of the Blade if you want to be more of a melee Warlock. This one allows you to bestow Curse. This one allows you to cast Conjure Elemental, which is a great spell at level 9. This one lets you cast Slow at level 5. When you're in dim or darkness, you can use your action Become Invisible, so this is kind of nice. You get a Jump spell at level 9. This one allows you to hit a creature with a weapon attack, and the creature gets extra necrotic damage equal to your Charisma modifier. So this is like the melee version of the Agonizing Blast for Eldritch Blast. Dreadful Word, you can cast Confusion at level 7. This one grants you the ability to acquire ritual spells, so this is pretty cool if you're Pact to the Tome. And then this one here, you can cast Dreadful Omen once using a Warlock spell, but without spending material components. So all very, very good choices. So keep those in mind. All right, so now just for us, we're going to pick Agonizing Blast and Repelling Blast because we want to do damage to them and kind of keep them away. All right, so we can choose to ignore unlearning the spell to learn a different spell, and then we get one more spell option. Probably Burning Hands, maybe a Charm Person. I mean, to be quite honest, you're probably going to use your spells on Malediction and something else. So a lot of these aren't really great choices in my opinion. Let's just pick Burning Hands for the fun of it. We can always get rid of it later. All right, so now we're level 2. So let's try level 3 and get our subclass. I'm sorry, our Pact. We already have our subclass, so let's get our Pact. So in this case, we get to choose between Pact of the Tome, Pact of the Blade, or Pact of the Chain. Now, Pact of the Chain is a special feature where in 5th edition, you actually had a summoned like familiar, but in this case, you get this supernatural ability where certain ones give you different abilities, which is pretty cool. Pact of the Blade basically makes you proficient in martial weapons and imbues weapons with the capacity, so it makes all your weapons magical. And then this one here is you gain 3 additional cantrips. So to me, Pact of the Chain is what you're going to want to pick unless you want to go a melee Warlock. I just don't think Pact of the Tome is that great in this in like a Solasta game. So I'm going to pick Pact of the Chain. And now I get to choose to either, if I want to unlearn one of these and learn something else, I can absolutely hit unlearn. And then I could pick from other options if I wanted to do that. But at this point, I want to keep what I have going on. So we're going to change that back and we're going to hit ignore. And then we're going to move on with what we got. So now that we are level 3, we got our first level 2 spell. So I'm going to actually I'm going to get rid of Burning Hands. And then I'm going to pick some of my level 2 spells. So to me, having Hold Person is always super great. And then a Misty Step can save your life. Scorching Ray is fantastic just because of the damage it does. So Scorching Ray and Eldritch Blast are both really good. Shatter is like the only AoE spell you get at this level where you can do some damage to multiple targets. So I'll probably pick up Misty Step just for the fun of it. All right. Now, I got Scorching Ray solely because of my subclass. So depending on the subclass you pick, you're going to get different 3rd level spells. So at 4th level, we're going to get our infamous bonus feat or ability score increase. We're going to check out the bonus feats. So for this guy, we're either going to do Flawless Concentration or we're going to do Powerful Cantrip, right? Powerful Cantrip, you still take half damage even if you miss. And then Flawless Concentration, this is going to allow you to keep your Malediction on without losing it. So if I had to choose between which one I would want, not losing my Malediction, which gives me a 1d6 extra damage, is probably more important than my Eldritch Blast not hitting, because for the most part, you should be geared where your Eldritch Blasts are going to hit. So I'm going to pick up Flawless Concentration in order to make sure that my Malediction stays on so I can get the most bang for my buck with that. So again, we can choose to unlearn an invocation and do another one, but we're not going to. We like what we got. And then we get to choose to unlearn a spell or pick another spell, and we also get at 4th level a new cantrip. So we can probably pick Poison Spray because it does some decent damage. We're not going to unlearn anything, and then we get to pick another spell. So maybe here's where you want to pick up a Scorching Ray, a Shatter, something like that. I'm going to pick up Scorching Ray. Like I said, if you did the Devil's Sight, picking up Darkness here is really cool, where you can just stand in the darkness and you can just Eldritch Blast everybody. And you know what? I think I'm going to do that. And then that way, nothing can come to me. If they try and kill me, they all have disadvantage, but I can see all them because I have Devil's Sight. So I can always change my invocation, or at a certain level, I'll get a 3rd invocation, which I can use for that. So let's level this baby up to level 5. So level 5 is when your Eldritch Blast splits. So you can see I get another Eldritch Invocation. But the key about this one is this is when your Eldritch Blast now lets you cast 2. So as my other invocation, because I picked up what I did, I'm going to pick up Devil's Sight. And so now I'm going to be able to see through magical darkness, so I can stand in magical darkness and kick everybody else's ass, but they can't do it to me. So great time for that. I'm not going to unlearn a spell, and because we hit level 5, we get our first level 3 spell. So this is where Fireball is because we picked the Fiend class. But honestly, Counterspell, Fear. Fear is a fantastic ability, but I mean, you got to go with Fireball, right? If you can cast Fireball, you should have Fireball. Counterspell is also really great too. So it would be between one of these two. Fly's okay, right? Fly's a good ability for out of combat and stuff. But if you take damage while flying in combat, you could fall out of the sky. So I'd either do Fireball or Counterspell. And if I picked a different subclass, I wouldn't have Fireball. Probably wouldn't even have Counterspell. So in that case, I might pick Fear or something else. All right. So now let's get up to the level 6. This is where we get our subclass abilities. So Dark One's Own Luck. This is where we get to add our additional 1d4 to all ability checks and saving throws, which is going to save us with the 1d4 to all saving throws. That's going to be really nice to have that ability. And then we can choose again to swap out our invocation, which we're not going to. And then we can get the whole level spell. So at this point, I'm going to pick Counterspell. All right, so we're going to go to level 7 here. See what we get at level 7. So we get our 4th level spells unlocked and another Eldritch Invocation. So now we can choose yet another. So now we can pick and see some of the higher level ones. So because we did Pact of the Chain, we get this Voice of the Chain ability where we can bind a creature to your Warlock one more time. So you can only usually bind a creature once per short rest. Now we'll be able to do it twice. So this is really nice to pick up. Bane, Bestow, when you're in an area of dim or darkness, you can use your action to become invisible. We don't need that. Slow is a really nice spell, so to have this for free once per long rest might be nice to cast. False Life, Eldritch Spear, where you can cast Eldritch on ignore any cover on any targets. Let's just do that. I think that's going to be super helpful with our just straight up Eldritch Blast setup we got going on here. So let's look and see if there's any spells we really don't want to keep. Probably keep all those. And now we get our first 4th level spell. So our options here, because we picked the Fiend, we get Wall of Fire. But normally I think you have Dimension Door, Dread Omen, Blight, that kind of thing. So I'm going to pick Wall of Fire, but you know, if you didn't do the Fiend subclass, maybe Dreadful Omen would be a good choice. Banishment's always good against elementals. And I think Blight is also something through the Fiend, so I don't think you would normally have that. So maybe Dread Omen or Banishment, or maybe pick another 3rd level spell, but I'm going to pick Wall of Fire because we're going Fiend all the way. Level 8. So this is where we get another bonus feat. So this is where I'm going to pick up the opposite of what I did before. So we're going to get Powerful Cantrip. And then again, we can swap out our invocations, which we're not going to. I like what I got. I can unlearn some spells, and then I can get another spell. So let's pick up Dreadful Omen on this one. We're getting to level 9 here. So this is where we get our first 5th level spell, which is going to be sweet. And another Eldritch Invocation. So we're going to ignore this. So now we can see, so probably the best one to pick up at this point, in my opinion, is going to be this Voice of the Chain, where we get an additional use of our special ability. So we're going to definitely pick that one up. And then we get to get our first 5th level spell. So again, because we did the Fiend, we get Flame Strike. But normally you have Hold Monster and Mind Twist. Mind Twist is such a great spell. And Hold Monster is a great spell. I just would pick Mind Twist because an AoE that kind of can incapacitate people, it's just a nice spell to have. And it does some decent psychic damage. All right, so then we go to level 10. So we're almost getting to the end here. So this is going to be our final subclass ability. So Fiendish Resilience, this is where we get to choose a damage type, and we get to be resistant to it for up into a short or long rest. We're going to ignore this, and we're going to move on into our spells. And I think in this case, we do get another cantrip at level 10. So we'll just pick whatever one we want here. And then here we'll pick, we're not going to learn anything. So I guess we only got a cantrip. We didn't get another spell at this level, unfortunately. Okay, we're going to get to level 11. So now that we're at level 11, we get this is like our only cool ability where you don't get a lot of spells as a warlock. They're all invocations. So if you don't use your invocations to cast spells, your spell list is very limited, and the spells that you can cast is very limited. So this gives us a free 6th level spell. So we're going to say ignore here, and then it's going to take us to our spells. And now you can see we can we ignore this, and here you go. So here's our 6th level spells to choose from. Conjure Fey is going to be pretty great. Circle of Death, a sphere of negative energy causes necrotic damage from a point you choose. That's going to be pretty great. Eye Bite's okay. If you look at it, it actually can do a couple things. You can put them asleep, panicked, or sickened. But this one's pretty sweet. You know, you do need a Pearl to cast it. It does 8d6 necrotic damage. But everyone takes that if they're in this thing. It's pretty cool. I kind of like it. But Conjure Fey is going to be just helpful, right? You can conjure any of these Feys. You get it out there for an hour. They're going to suck up some damage. They're going to do some damage. So I would probably take Conjure Fey just because that would be my choice. All right. And then you also get a regular spell for leveling up. So we'll take Hold Monster. So now we're at level 11. And now we're going to get to the final level. And this is just going to be our final either feat or ability score up level here. So at this point, the game's probably already over. It was probably over before now. I mean, if you made it to level 12, you did a lot of encounters. But, I mean, there's really not much I would probably pick here that really makes any sense. So maybe I'll do a level up on the other thing. +1 to armor. That's what we'll go with. Ignore. And then we get our final invocation. And like I said, none of this really matters probably. So here we go. Minions of Chaos. Done. And then there it is. So that is the Warlock leveling up path. Obviously, if you did choose a different subclass, or in this case, a different patron, then at your levels 3, 6, and I'm sorry, at your levels 6 and 11, it would be a little bit different. But we didn't do that, so that's why we had what we had there. So hopefully this video is helpful. I went the full Eldritch Blast. If you do go Pact of the Blade, then you could do more of a melee build and pick up some abilities that might help you from a melee perspective. But honestly, to me, if you're going to play a Warlock, you got to go Eldritch Blast, baby, all day, every day. So hopefully you liked this video. Hopefully this was helpful on the Warlock, kind of how they level up, if it's something you guys want to play. If I didn't hit anything, just leave it in the comments below. And then, of course, you can always like this video and then click subscribe and click the bell so that you can get all of my Solasta videos when they are released. So this is Van from the VaniverseGaming channel. Thank you for watching. Cheers and peace out.